treasures dug from mines and turned from mills and commerce. But all these required capital, except the old treasures, and this source of wealth being a possibility, to it his thoughts clung as a man lost in mid-ocean clings to a spar, clung as he often conceived that his poor father had clung when lost with all his treasure far at sea. Vigo Bay, the Schelde, already giving up their long-buried spoil, so thought he. All round our coasts lie millions lost, hidden but for a time. Other men have benefited by them. Why should not I have a chance also? And then, as he sunk to sleep, the possibility seemed to become reality, and as he slept, he found treasure after treasure, and all was real to him, for he knew not that he dreamt. He had many dreams, most of them connected with the finding of treasures, and in all of them Ellen took a prominent place. He seemed in his dreams to renew his first acquaintance with the girl he loved, and when he thought of the accident that brought them together, it might be expected that the seashore was the scene of many of his dreams. The meeting was in this wise. One holiday, some 3 years before, he had been walking on the flat shore of the Bull, when he noticed at some distance off a very beautiful young girl, and set to longing for some means of making her acquaintance. The means came even as he wished. The wind was blowing freely, and the girl's hat blew off and hurried seawards over the flat shore. He ran after it and brought it back, and from that hour the two had, after their casual acquaintance had been sanctioned by her father, become fast friends. Most of his dreams of the night had faded against morning, but one he remembered. He seemed to be in a wide stretch of sand near the hulk of a great vessel. Beside him lay a large iron-bound box of great weight, which he tried in vain to lift. He had by a lever just forced it through a hole in the side of the ship, and it had fallen on the sand and was sinking. Despite all he could do, it still continued to go down into the sand, but by slow degrees. The mist was getting round him, shutting out the moonlight, and from far he could hear a dull, echoing roar muffled by the fog, and the air seemed laden with the clang of distant bells. Then the air became instinct with the forms of life, and amid them floated the form of Ellen, and with her presence the gloom and fog and darkness were dispelled, and the sun rose brightly on the instant, and all was fair and happy. Next day was Sunday, and so after prayers he went for a walk with his friend, Tom Harrison. They directed their steps towards Dollymount, and passing across the bridge over Crab Lake, found themselves on the North Bull. The tide was black out, and when they crossed the line of low bent-covered sandhills, or dunes, as they are called in Holland, a wide stretch of sand, intersected with shallow tidal streams, lay before them, out towards the mouth of the bay. As they looked, Robert's dream of the night before flashed into his memory, and he expected to see before him the hulk of the old ship. Presently Tom remarked, "I do not think I ever saw the tide so far out before. What an immense stretch of sand there is! It is a wonder there is no rock or anything of the kind all along this shore." "There is one," said Robert, pointing to where, on the very edge of the water, rose a little mound, seemingly a couple of feet at most, over the level of the sand. "Let us go out to it," said Tom, and accordingly they both took off their boots and stockings, and walked over the wet sand, and forded the shallow streams till they got within 100 yards of the mound. Suddenly Tom called out, "It is not a rock at all. It is a ship, bottom upwards, with the end towards us and sunk in the sand." Robert's heart stood still for an instant. What if this should be a treasure ship, and his dream prove prophetic? In an instant more he shook aside the fancy and hurried on. They found that Tom had not been mistaken. There lay the hulk of an old ship, with just its bottom over the sand. Close round it the ebb and flow of the tide had worn a hole like a moat round an old